Hi everyone, this is Barbara Beckmann and I'm the artist behind the Gelli Plate paper pieced angel patterns. I created a pattern about a year ago and this week I worked on some very vibrant jelly prints and I thought it would be nice to try to make an angel out of the very vibrant colors. Now here's my original angel that I did over a year ago. And I realized from the comments that I had received that a lot of people couldn't make these on their own. So I created a pattern, and that pattern is available for download on my website, and it comes with all the pieces that are required to piece her together. So once I have my pieces printed on my heavy cardstock, I will go ahead and cut them out. Now, the reason why I don't have full-length videos here on YouTube is they would take a really long time to show you exactly everything that I do step by step. This angel took me about 4.5 hours from beginning to end. But I do have available over on Patreon a longer version of this where I show you step by step how I created her. If I were to show you here on YouTube, it would really be way too long. Just cutting her dress out here takes a long time. It's very tedious at times, but once you cut it out, you'll have it there and you could use it again and again on your projects. So once I cut out my pieces, that's when I start to do the fun part. And I start to look for the paper that I'm going to use to make up her wings and her dress and her hair and her embellishments that are around her, maybe the circle, the halo, and this part I love. And you really can utilize any of your papers. You just have to have your imagination run as wild as possible. The possibilities are endless and you can create so many different versions of this. So I chose this paper. It kind of reminded me of like scales on a dinosaur or alligator or something. They were kind of neat. So that's why I chose this paper, and I love the pink color. So when they're large pieces like this, I flip them over, and I also flip the piece over, the pattern piece over, and I just do a quick tracing on the back side. And I only do this on the larger pieces because the smaller pieces I can really just hold up to the paper and quickly just cut around them. So they go much quicker. But that's just how I like to do them. You can certainly, cut out, draw every single piece from the pattern onto your paper. So it's your choice. I've just been doing this for many years, so it comes quickly and naturally to me. I've been doing paper dolls since I was a child, and I had two elderly aunts who lived with us, and they were afraid when I went out in the street to play, so they just gave me papers to play with and color forms. So I played with those forever. And when I had my daughter 8 years ago, I was so excited to teach her how to make paper dolls, and I realized that nobody else was doing anything like this, like I had, at least when I was a child. So that kind of prompted me, along with the comments I was getting from people saying, hey, I love this angel, I love your work, but I can't draw, or how do I do this? And that's what kind of gave me the spark to be able to go back and spend some time working on developing a pattern for you that you could purchase if you needed to, that was available to help you along and make something very similar. So as I'm working on other pieces of her dress here, I try to think what would coordinate and work well with the dress itself. And sometimes if you're using the same piece of paper, obviously you're going to have the same color values. So what I try to do is I will go around with alcohol ink and I will just kind of highlight or define the edges. And I use Spectrum Nior markers, alcohol markers, and you can find those online or at your local craft stores. And what I do is just go around the edges of it, and you can see that in the video here that I'm just using the chiseled edge of the tip. They used to have dual edges on them, and I just put a line. It's as simple as that, and I go around the entire piece with the marker. So once I get all my pieces cut out and inked up, I start to piece them together. So I went ahead here and I have the hair cut out and I have the face cut out, and I try to use some skin colored papers to represent the face. So whenever I'm making my prints, I also do some prints that are just skin color tones. So you just take your time, and it's just about piecing things together, just like you would, you know, making paper dolls or playing with your color forms. And for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, it's just making dolls or faces and people out of paper. So I'm working on her face now and her neck is going to be darker because her neck is in shadow. So anytime you paint, you would paint something that would be in shadow a little bit darker. So I am a painter. I am a professional painter, as I said, and I utilize a bunch of my skills to put these together. So for me, it comes out just naturally. I don't really think about it. But if you piece together two pieces of paper and you realize that your neck isn't darker, say for instance, you can always go on top of it with a Copic marker or an alcohol marker, even watercolor, anything to darken it up. So you can always change the color of them if it's, you know, it's not carved in stone per se. So I'm just placing the pieces on for her neck and her face, and I'm taking my time. And I'm using a Scotch glue stick, and it's a permanent glue stick. So it's not the kind you'd see, you know, your preschooler with, or the kind that fall off and you walk by them and they just kind of, all the pieces just fall to the floor. So it's not a glue stick like that. It's not a cheap glue stick. I will put a link to everything that I'm using too. So if you wanted to purchase these, it's a great glue stick. I've used this one. It's my go-to one. It's made by Scotch, and it's a permanent glue stick. So I just continue to play until I'm happy with the placement. And right here, I'm trying to figure out how I want her hair to fall onto the shoulder of the dress. So nothing's carved in stone. I have time to move things around. I realized that I wanted to change where her neck was falling onto the dress line, and that's why I was able to go ahead and move that still, because it wasn't dry yet. So once this glue dries, it definitely is permanent. Once I'm happy with it, I just simply push it down with my fingers, and it holds them together pretty well, as you can see. So you just continue to piece together. And any areas that I did not glue down, like I didn't glue her hair down yet because I wasn't sure I wanted it there. I realized at this point I didn't stick her arm down. So I went ahead and I tucked her arm underneath her hair there, and I placed it until I was happy with it. As long as you have good contrast and you can see the difference between her arm and her dress, you'll be fine. So I played around by pushing the arm above, underneath the hair and on top of the hair, and I liked it this way. And there are other hair pieces that I will be gluing onto her hair as if to indicate like wispy curls. So I knew that I could put some pieces by that arm to camouflage, and that hair like would be free flowing. So I still had time to maneuver the V-neck around her dress collar and stick that on as well. So just take your time. So here what I'm doing is I had just put some alcohol ink and defined her edge, just like I did with the dress. And I'm taking a little bit of rubbing alcohol and a paintbrush and pushing out that line that I created. So just the line wouldn't be so harsh. It softens it. It distributes the ink a little bit, so you do still see a defined edge or a darker edge to separate maybe your arm piece in the dress from the dress, but it's just a softer look overall. So here I'm highlighting, or I'm putting some alcohol marker in a contrasting color. I'm still using that same color family. It's still the orangish kind of yellow, and so you could see the difference. You want to see the contrasting color, and I wouldn't put like a purple or a blue unless that's the look I was going for. So it's just going to be like a low light to her hair by using a darker orangey kind of color. And again, I don't want that harsh line to be so harsh. So I'll go ahead with some alcohol on a little paintbrush and distribute that ink out. And then what I'll do is I glue those onto her hair to create some curls and some bangs and just a free-flowing style hairstyle. And that's how I pieced her together. So now I'm going ahead, I'm working on cutting out the wings from my pattern. And the fun part is now trying to find some papers that will coordinate nicely and work well with her. So this is where you have to go through your creative process and think outside the box. You don't want to do everything so safe. Like, at least for me, I like to kind of have that edge about it and maybe put things together that you wouldn't think would work together. But I go ahead and I cut my pattern out first, and then I flip through my papers. So once you get everything cut out, that's when the fun part starts to begin. So what I'm doing now is I'm just flipping through some of my papers that I have here that I want to use for the wings. And I basically just hold her body up and see what works or what I like better. Anything calling out to me, anything grab my attention. When they do, I go through the whole stack. I just don't grab the first thing I see. I will take them out and I'll put them to the side. So that's what my next step is picking out my papers to coordinate. So I went ahead and I cut out my template for the wing pieces. And I chose the pattern paper, which was a bluish purple color for her overall wings. I went ahead and cut those out. And now the individual wings that are inside her, where the feathers are. So I'm picking out some papers now and seeing what would contrast and what you would see best. So I chose to do an orange paper, but I did place, as I took several pieces and I held them up. So this is the one that caught my eye, and this is the one I ended up going with. So I will piece those together now. So when I went ahead and cut out the pieces here for my wing feathers, that's tedious and that does take a lot of time. So just be patient and take your time, and I don't glue these on until almost the last step. So once I have everything cut out, I put it aside, and at this point I now just go through my stash of jelly prints that I have here, and I will keep placing her on top of them to just try to get an overall idea of what I want the background to be. So again, I do it the same way as I found the wing color for her outfit to coordinate. I just keep putting her on top of different papers until something kind of just clicks in my head, until I start to see an overall idea. So that's what I do now, is I go through all my papers one at a time until something strikes my attention and catches my eye. So once I pick out my background paper, I go ahead and turn it upside down, and I start to use the Mod Podge to glue it down onto the paper. Now from here forward, I won't be using the glue sticks. I'll be using the Mod Podge, and I'm using the matte one for this particular project. So again, I'll put links to everything below, but I go ahead and I'm heavy with my application of glue here because I want it to stick down. And it does a great job, I have to say. And these are Deli prints that I had printed on. And I tore them into pieces because I want to try to incorporate different parts of one sheet into the entire background. So I want some of these blues that you see here on the bottom, I want some of them to be up top as well. So I ripped my papers. You can just glue down full sheets. That's fine. I've done that before too. Just be creative and you know, follow your gut, I guess. Once I have it glued down, I just take an old credit card that I use as a scraper. I find those best just to get any air bubbles out. And then I just continue on from there. So at this point, I decide I want like a little haze behind her. So I go along and I just take some gesso, water down with some water, and I create a light haze behind her. So when I place her on top of this, it's going to give a look as if it's like cloudy or floating, or what I would feel like heaven might look like. Something just light and airy. I would say like walking through clouds is my best description. So that's what I'm doing here. So I decided I wanted to make this particular angel be a little bit longer than my last ones. I just like to change things up a little bit, and you can certainly do that. I didn't need a pattern to do this. I just made her dress a little longer, and I used a different piece of paper that I found that I just wanted to incorporate somewhere in here, and I didn't have enough of the paper to use for some of the circles in the background. Oh, here I am with the alcohol ink. Here's a perfect example to show you how I just kind of push out after I do my inking of my edges. I just take some alcohol and push it outward into the center of the paper. So it just distributes it nicely. So that's a good example to show you. But this piece I added onto the bottom of her dress. So my video is getting a little long here, so I'm going to just show you a little bit how I pieced it together, and think about composition and overall placement of things here. And I will be signing off soon here on this video, and I will show you at the end what my overall composition looked like. I wanted to also mention that you can see the vibrancy is much different, and that's because there was Mod Podge over it and there was a lot of glue on there, so it kind of has a haze until it dries. So that's why you might see such a big contrast in color. It's definitely thick with glue as I'm working on it, and it's creating a very hazy look until it dries fully. So once I have everything pieced together, it's basically about composition and putting things where you think they fit, and where they look nice to you, where it's appealing to your eye. Like, you know, eye candy, paper eye candy. So that's basically it for today. Please subscribe to my channel, and please give me the thumbs up if you happen to like this video. Please leave me a comment if you like it slowed down more like this, or if you'd like me to speed it up so you see more of the process but quicker, or if you would like, you know, music to be set to it. I would just like to overall have an idea of what people are looking for so I can produce better videos for you. Again, I am an artist. I'd rather be with my paintbrushes. I'd rather be playing and getting messy with my stencils and, you know, all my art products. I do not like the video aspect of it, but I'm going to work hard at it and try to figure out a way to do it quickly so I can do both and find a happy medium. So thank you again for watching. Please, comments would be great. I would really, really appreciate your input in helping me out here to try to improve and grow and get better. Have a great day, everyone. Please remember to be your true, authentic self and create from within, and create whatever your heart is wanting and needing and desires to get out there onto paper. Have a great day. Thanks again, everyone. I'll be back soon with more videos.